Women often face unique challenges in starting or sustaining a business. Rosalina Perez tells us there's help on the Midwest Flourish. Greetings, I'm Rick Farron. I'm your host for the Midwest Flourish, and today we have with us Rosalina Perez, who is the director of the Women's Business Center at the Northeast Indiana Innovation Center, otherwise known as the NIIC. Welcome, Rosalina.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's deal with the elephant in the room, which, by the way, by the time this is actually broadcast, the situation may change. But the Small Business Administration has paused funding, and that is funding that really is important to not only the NIIC, but also the business center. So, and I hear, because you told me, that the funding actually runs out in September. Mm-hmm. So what is the situation? What are the plans moving forward, if in fact you can make plans? And you might want to talk a little bit about, I think that you're also seeking other funding in case. Yeah, tell me about what's going on.
Yeah, so essentially our grant runs from October 1st through September 30th. So we are at the very end of our last quarter, and normally, the SBA would come out with renewal to apply again for the following year in August, and we have yet to receive that opportunity to renew the grant. And we have monthly calls with the SBA, more so with the Office of, it's called OBO, which is the Women's Business Center. Essentially, the SBA, they oversee us. So we are in constant communication with them on a monthly basis. They are always, updating us on new updates. So right now, they're just telling us it's still on hold. They are waiting for Congress, and we have to essentially keep going. We have to still keep operating as if we have the grant, and we just need to be aware that it can happen any day. You have some money to keep going, right? Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Is that indefinite, or is there like a period of time that you have identified for when it really becomes a critical issue?
Yeah. So right now we obviously have until the end of September to be able to continue to operate under SBA grant. Yeah. The NIIC, however, has been able to position themselves. Obviously, that it's a for-profit side of it because of its building, the leases that they have, the conference spaces. So there is still money coming in through the NIIC. And then there are other grants that they are applying for that they are currently running. One is being the USDA grant. So there are other revenues of coming in through grants or through the NIIC in the building itself. But also, too, they are exploring different avenues. And this is something where it's great because it also teaches us that we have to be practicing what we preach, which is the importance of having different revenue streams and understanding our business model. So, that's exactly what they're doing. They're looking at other streams of income and looking for local or regional funding. So it's going to keep going.
Good. So tell us, what does the Women's Business Center do?
Yeah, so the Women's Business Center, there's around 150 centers in the U.S. Essentially, I always tell our clients we do three things. The first thing that we do is one-on-one business coaching. So we meet with our clients one-on-one, talk about their business and what they want to do, if they want to start a business or if they currently have a business. And then we start strategizing around a journey for them on how we can get them to the launch phase, or how can we get them the resources for them to continue to grow. So that's the one-on-one coaching. And then the next thing is the workshops. So we want to be able to offer a space where individuals can just drop in, learn something, get connected with experts, but also to be able to network with other entrepreneurs and build up their networks as well. So we do the workshops. We try to do a monthly workshop. Sometimes it's more. Sometimes it depends on just our capacity. So we try to do reoccurring ones if we can, and then we also offer them in different ways, virtually, in-person, hybrid models. So we want to make sure that we are adapting to our clients and their needs. And then the last thing that we do is the connections to the resources. There are so many resources out in the region, in just locally here in the state, that even nationwide, that entrepreneurs can take advantage of. And just imagine having to first, learn how to start a business, operations. And then on top of that, you're still trying to sift through all the resources that are out there to see what is beneficial for you and what can you take advantage, what pertains to you. And that's really what we've done for them is we want to save them time and get them connected to credible resources as well. So it's the connections to those resources that we do and that community feel of getting them connected to other entrepreneurs who are experts in certain fields. So it's the three things: coaching, workshops, and the connections.
And obviously Fort Wayne is part of the territory you serve. How large
Correct.
is it a territory that you serve?
Yeah, we are technically on paper, we are 16 counties, but we've been focusing more on the 11 counties in the Northeast Indiana region.
Okay. And you were recently promoted to this position because before you were doing work with, I think, primarily Latinas and Spanish-speaking folks. And I think you were promoted in December. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
What are the special circumstances that face women entrepreneurs that make it challenging for them in a unique way, either to start a business or sustain one?
Yeah, and this is something that I've learned, since I've started, 4 years ago, and the difference between coaching a woman or a male. And I'm now understanding the common barriers that they face, and it being not just like access to capital or being able to even apply for a business loan because they don't have credit or collateral. But then there's also an underlying barrier as well, where a lot of them are very reserved to want to take a risk to launch a business because they are supporting their children. They consider, that's obviously the primary focus is them, their caregivers. So they are, still trying to build a business because this is something that they want to do. They see a need, a problem that they're trying to solve, but then they're also struggling because they also have their families to maintain as well. And then the other part of it too, a lot is on the mindset. I've struggled I still struggle with your value and what you have to offer and, your upbringing and what you were told you had to be in. So there's also a mindset piece too that barrier, I feel like, within us that, we still have to overcome.
What was that mindset that was instilled in you that you had to overcome or are still overcoming?
Oh, yeah. So some of those things I think about of just coming outside the mold of being a housewife or a homemaker. I still am. I'm a mom, and, that's obviously my, my focus too. But also too, I want to do something that's bigger. I want to do something that's, greater than just, my home. I want to do something for our community. And you want to leave a legacy. And I think that's also too where I've questioned myself. I'm like, well, am I even capable of doing something, more than just what I was supposed to be doing, what I've been raised to do. And
was that the expectation for you, that you would just be a mom and a wife? And
Oh, yeah, completely. I was, since I was young, I was, my mindset was find a husband, have a family. And then now that I have that, I'm like, okay, well, what's next?
What's next? Or what else?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did read recently when you were talking about capital, I did read recently that women generally are denied loans more often than men. And in fact, that some of the loans, or that the percentage of the amount of loans are less for women than men. And I suspect that part of that latter one may be the kinds of businesses that they're going after. But do you think that there are other reasons why they would be getting less money for loans? Do they, for instance, underestimate the need, like someone who's just starting a business, or do you think it's primarily just the kind of businesses that women may be going into?
Yeah, I mean, I think about the type of businesses that I'm helping through that, and I think it's, a lot of them are solopreneurs, they're consultants, so it's not something where it's a scalable type of business in that way. So it doesn't really necessarily require a lot of capital to start. And then also to, again, they're in that mindset where they're essentially undervaluing what they offer. And then they're maybe thinking that they may not need that much money. And then on top of that, too, it's I feel like it's a fear, too, where they don't want to go after a large amount because, again, they're risk adverse and they're trying not to get into this debt of, $100 million or something. And it's like, how am I going to pay that? They're questioning themselves. So I think it's like the risk adverse piece to it, but also to just the type of industries that I'm predominantly seeing. And I'm not saying that, it's all of that. It's just, a lot of a mixture of different things.
Yeah. What are some of because you've had experience with this, what are some of the specific challenges, if they're any different, with Latina women or Spanish-speaking women who want to start or even sustain the business they already have?
Yeah, I think a lot has to do with the cultural expectations or awareness, first off. They're coming from, different countries. And, I can use the example of Guatemala. In Guatemala, you can easily just post up, a food business on the street and sell your products there. Versus here, you could get shut down without a permit. And you can't just post up, over here on the corner of downtown and, just start operating. So a lot has to do with the just that, obviously, the cultural awareness piece of it. And then the other part of it is to the language barrier. Those are like the obvious. Even this morning, right before our meeting, I was sitting down with a Spanish speaker entrepreneur, and we're literally going through the food permit application. And I'm trying to interpret it to her, translate to her, explain to her, here are the steps that you need to take. You got to go to the city, get your sign-off sheet done. You got to go to, the shared kitchen, get your sign-off. You got to get these inspectors. So it's like so many different things that I can see where it's like very overwhelming, and it's just a lot. It's a long process.
For anybody, actually. Yeah. So we're now in this really ridiculously changing landscape when it comes to business, with a lot of uncertainties, things like tariffs, right, which has sort of upended or altered supply chains, the economy itself, worker shortages. I just wonder, I have to tell you that I've never started a business because I always felt like it would be a real pain in the you-know-what, and there would be so many uncertainties, and I just didn't want that stress. But in this particular environment, I have no idea why someone would want to start a business. You tell me why someone should start a business.
Yeah, not everyone should start a business, that's for sure. We're not all made to be entrepreneurs. Yeah, they see a need. They see still there's a gap. There's a problem that is out there, and they're wanting to solve it, especially, the individual I met with today. I mean, she's starting it off because she wants a product and it's not available to her. So she's like, okay, I'm going to make it, and I know people are going to buy it because they're asking me for it. So, she's not even thinking about, well, my current, what does that look like right now currently with the economy? I mean, she's just going forth. And I think that's what really makes a person want to start a business, is because they see there's a problem out there and they want to solve that. And they're going to adapt. They're going to adjust based on, what the changes are.
Yeah, and I want to get back to some of the specific things that you coach. But on that one thing that you just mentioned, if somebody comes to you and says, I want to start this business, help me go through all the rigmarole that I have to, is part of what you do, if you see, like you said, this woman sees a product, Nobody else has it, she says. She believes, for whatever reasons, there's a need for it. Do you have occasion where you've had to say to somebody, you have no idea what you're talking about, this is going to be a complete failure because. Do you do that?
I want them to determine that on their own. So I will ask them questions. The very first thing is, have you even tried to ask anyone if they have this problem and if they're willing to buy it? For her situation, yes, she's been, making this item at home and she's been selling it at home, but she knows that she needs permits for it, and now she wants to grow, and it's like that's the only, she needs to do it the right way, and she wants to do it the right way. But I always ask individuals, how many people have you talked about this problem? And how many of them, aside from your family and friends, because family and friends will support you because you're, because they like you.
Yeah.
But I think it is, is this problem something that you see already occurring where it's just duplicating it, or you're just essentially copying and bringing it here? And that's an obvious, right? Or if it is something brand new, a prototype, I always ask them, you need to go talk to people who would be potential customers and see if this is a need. And if it is, then, great, let's work. We have something to work off now. So I'm not someone that is going to just say your product is dumb. It's more of, I want you to figure it out yourself, and I will give you some guiding questions to ask your target customers so that you can make that determination on your own.
I mean, have you had people that have decided not to open a business? Because,
completely.
Because once you had this discussion and they looked at it, they thought it was a pretty foolish idea?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Or they're just not wanting to even think about how to sell the product. They're trying to hire people to sell it for them. And I'm like, you have to go out and sell this. You are the only one, because this is your idea. This is, you have to go out there first and do the hard work first. So yeah, it's something where once you tell them to start hitting the pavement, it's like, I don't ever see them again. And I'm like, okay, I think I scared them away.
They didn't want to do the work.
No.
Yeah. Now, getting back to all of these sort of unpredictable things, the business environment, the tariffs, the worker shortages, the other things I talked about, I'm going to assume that you try to help people maneuver through that. But how in the world do you help people maneuver through something that's unpredictable?
Yeah, I've had a few clients recently, which this timing is perfect on doing this, because I've had a few clients who have gone through, struggles with their business that's been operating for many years, and then they're at that point where, like, I want to essentially close, or, I want to sell it. And one of the things that I told that client was, we have to look at what you have, think about what you're grateful for. We still have our health. She was healthy, and we live in this, beautiful country with so many opportunities. So no matter what, the U.S. wants us to flourish, right? And, they want to grow the economy, and they want us to live here. So we have to look at, what is it that they currently have? And worst case scenario, if they, if business flops, it's like, great, you can always, go, look for a job and still work within the same industries if you can. So maneuvering through these hard times, obviously it's dependent on the person and their mindset. But also, too, I like to be that person to just, tell them, like, what do we have to lose? Because we have so much opportunities here, and your skills, you can always transfer them over to somewhere else.
How about giving us a few success stories, which you don't have to provide, hopefully identifying information. I understand that. But generally, so we get the idea of where you were involved in helping someone, and this was the successful outcome.
Yeah, there's so many, and it depends on what you define success, because since I've started, I've gone through, so many clients who started with me when I first started, and then they're still operating. So I would consider that success because they're still going. And then one in particular, she's been with me through the entire, time that I've started, and she was, selling, her product from her home. And now she's about to get her own brick and mortar. And she's gone through, the farmers markets. She's, gotten her own trailer, her food truck, and now she's getting a location. And I see that as a success, for her, because she's doing this. And She's been able to access, grants and support from, others in the community. And I know it wasn't just us that did that, but it was the community, the city, and just other organizations that she's taken advantage of. But I feel like for her, she didn't know where else to go, and she was able to speak with me in Spanish. So that helped her feel comfortable and, be confident of going out to different places to learn and grow. So she's one for sure. Even some of the ones that have been able to access capital. I just got a client yesterday who, I was helping him through his business plan, his projections, and now he's been approved a loan. So we do also serve men too. I have a lot of both men and women success stories, a few others where they had no idea how to start a food truck, and now they're on their second round, and he's ready to look for a location now.
So I would imagine that a lot of men don't know that the Women's Business Center serves men.
Yeah, no,
okay,
they don't.
Now, wait, now hang on a second. So why doesn't the name get changed? Right?
Yeah. So SBA was the one who came up with that name back in 1988, right? It was focused on women because, we were economically disadvantaged and barriers with like lower income. So it was focused on women. And we attract all. So we're not going to say no to someone who wants to start a business, whether you're male, man, or however you identify. We are going to be here for you.
And that does not run counter to any of the funding that you get.
No. Actually, it's proactively good because that's exactly what the new administration wants us to be open to all.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're doing already. So it's like this doesn't really change anything. And I don't know if we will keep the name if the Women's Business Center gets defunded by the SBA. I don't know if they have proprietary rights to that name. But I do know that we will be providing women's programming, whether it being just as an umbrella under the NIIC, like a program under the NIIC, because we do have like a women's support group for entrepreneurs, and it's only for women.
It's only for women. Okay.
Yeah. So I do foresee that I will continue specific programming for women because the conversations that these women have in that group. It would be so uncomfortable if you were in there.
I'm not offering to be in there, but that's okay. So I am gonna ask though some questions that may be uncomfortable, and I don't mean harm, brothers. So I don't want to sound impertinent, but why is it important to have women entrepreneurs?
Yeah, it's important because we come with different perspectives. We see problems maybe that men won't see.
Yes, I was going to get into that. Like, what are those different perspectives?
Oh, well, it's something where, even our day-to-day lives, right? Where maybe I'm having a problem, whether it's, I'm just going to go with the very basic skincare, or makeup. And there are women entrepreneurs who are tailoring it towards women. And obviously, we're the ones that wear the makeup. So having someone who can come in and say, I'm going to make this product better because this is what I go through, because she's a woman, then it's like, great, like I benefit from that. So we are all benefiting from women entrepreneurs if we think about it or not. And obviously we come with different qualities of more of like the nurturing piece of us too. And I think that's something that, I've, been told by my son, I'm someone who he'd rather talk to me sometimes because I'm more, nurturing and just more gentle with, the conversation. And I see that with the way that these entrepreneurs or women entrepreneurs are, serving to their customers in that way. And they want that. We all come in different perspectives and we have different needs and how things are communicated to us. So we want to be able to, we should tap into that. We need to embrace those different perspectives and challenges and those solutions that these women are bringing in. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure not a guy would have thought about this makeup line that I benefited from.
So, probably before you were born, Rosalina, because I'm dating myself, is where the term glass ceiling came from. And I think we probably, as a society, made great progress on that. But I suspect and think that women in business, generally speaking, may not be getting the same kind of respect, equal respect. Do you think that's true? And if that is true, how do we get to the point where there's inequality there of the perspective of a women entrepreneur versus a male entrepreneur?
I do see the issue. I mean, that problem still happening. Maybe not that obvious because of just how, things have changed. And I mean, even myself, I see that I've, hit glass ceilings. I think it's still happening for sure. I know.
So
that.
You do think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you have felt it yourself.
Oh, completely. Yeah. And that's because I also have the conversations that I'm, hearing too, the women that I'm talking with. A lot of them are, they leave because, they are, helping someone else make money. And it's like, I have the, all these qualities and I can be doing it myself. And also too, they struggle to get into that leadership role. So it's like, you'll turn around and just do it yourself. And then now you've become that leader and now you're able to build your team up. You have now control. So I think with the gap, it's about, we need to be aware that we're going to create, this is why we're creating our own businesses, because we're going to be in our leadership role. And we're going to, try to get to that point where we are getting to that point to where we start closing that gap.
Yeah.
And we need to embrace more women in leadership roles because, again, we bring different perspectives. We might see things differently. And we just want the same access to everyone else.
And I'm going to assume, we got a couple of minutes left. I'm going to assume, so, the woman that, the super mom that people talk about, right? Takes care of the kids, takes care of the house, takes care of the husband, and then just has this big job. Is that realistic?
It depends on the person. I hear different stories, and I think it just depends on the person. If they have that drive, then they'll do it. They are going to be more, I feel like it's more manageable when you start utilizing the resources and tools like AI, an example. Now, for me, I'm like using it because it's helping me, figure out better ways to do things, even at home. I mean, I've helped it make a meal plan for me and, steps to meal prep and all that good stuff. So I don't have to put all this energy into that to think of it. So it's depending on the person, honestly, if they're going to say, well, I have all this to do. It's like, well, you don't have to. You can either outsource or bring your family in to help you. This isn't something that you should be putting this on yourself. You're just self-inflicting it to yourself. If you have no choice, I understand, that too. As single mothers, we have a lot to carry. You have, your job still. But that's why we're here. I tell my clients that when they're single moms, still raising their kids, still have their business, and still doing the day-to-day things for them, I allow them to come to me to vent or to just talk through it and just remind them that, just living, day by day, that's all we can do is just keep, putting one step forward and realizing that we need help. If you need help, it's okay to ask for help. But if you're going to, say you want to be the super mom, and I am part of that, I see that I'm doing so much, but then you start to reflect back and say, what am I doing it for? And am I living in the moment? Am I appreciating everything? And, how can I make sure to, not regret working so much? And now I'm understanding you just have to, maybe let go of things, say no to things, and see what's actually meaningful to you. So, yeah.
So speaking of getting help, why don't you let our audience know how they can get in touch with you and the center, and perhaps you'd like to also share that in Spanish for the Spanish-speaking folks, and maybe throw in a couple of lines. You can't summarize our whole conversation, but just something to encourage them as well to seek help.
Yeah. So definitely they can reach out to theniic.net. On our website, there's a few links, both Spanish and in English, where it says "Let's Talk" or "Háblanos," and they will be able to fill out a basic form, just name, contact information, and then they will get routed to some of the coaches there. If not, I'm always happy to connect. My business card has my cell phone number because I know that's the best way to just text me. My phone number is 260-580-7484. probably going to get a bunch of spam calls now. I'm just joking.
You probably will.
Yeah. No, I already did. No, but no, I'm open. I try to be available because, again, I'm trying to adapt to our clients, man. Our clients are operating these businesses, Monday through Friday, from Saturday, Sunday, during the day, at night. And I just want to adapt and be there for them. That's what I'm being paid for, right? So they can reach me on my cell phone. For the Spanish speakers, se puede contactar conmigo. Mi celular es 260-580-7484. Ese es mi celular, so me puede llamar cuando quiera para hablar. And honestly, I just say that, we all need help. The only way for us to grow as a business is to get support because we can't do it alone. I mean, maybe AI will help in that aspect, but even to that, there's so much out there. There's so many resources that you don't have to sift through so much information. We can give you, the direction that you need. And that's really what it's for. It's to save you time and to save you money, because I've seen people where they're paying certain things and it's like, you could have gotten that for free. But really it is, we want to save you time, money, and just be a support, because entrepreneurship is difficult and you need to talk about it to people. And sometimes family isn't the best people to talk about your business with. And we're here, everything's confidential, and we want to be that support, that guide, and get you the necessary resources that they need. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for stopping by, Rosalina.
Thank
you.
you.
It was a great conversation.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, take care. Since the recording of this podcast, the Women Business Center has been notified that it can apply for new SBA funding. With that ongoing funding and funding from other sources, the center is confident it can continue to operate at full capacity.
That's a wrap on today's episode of the Midwest Flourish podcast. Want to dig deeper or get involved? Head to marketingthemidwest.com to explore how we can work together to empower your community to flourish. Let's keep the Midwest momentum going and shape the future of our region together.